role are you playing in this film?
So it's called Tommy Boy. And then Tommy is kind of a screw-up kid that goes and works for his dad after college. Took him a little longer than most to get through college. Keeps screwing up a little bit and then gets a little bit of responsibility and tries to...
Shut up. Can we just...
Sounds like...
Keep it down. Keep it down. Smaller.
You told me
Always
bring
big.
it up and bring it
Bigger's better.
Bigger's better.
This is the man right here.
Did you have trouble controlling him?
Absolutely. Out of control most of the time. Zowie. No, he was great. He did a great job.
So, Chris, you say that this is a fatty, skinny movie? Explain that.
Well, Spade's got a little bit of a weight problem.
He has none.
He has none. No, I don't know. This is just fatty and skinny.
Holy shnikes. Is that for me?
No, son, that's for me.
You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors.
This always has been, always will be, a family firm. Oh, son of a... Someday my son will run it. Luke, Luke, I am your father.
Aw, I've interrupted happy time.
That's my name. Yeah, that's your new office now. Whoa.
Do we really want to put the future of the company in Tommy's hands?
Promise me you'll look after Tommy Boy here till he gets his feet wet.
Sure, and thanks for choosing me. Hey, Tommy, this is not a vacation for me. I'm out here against my will, so the least you can do is pretend to work. Ugh, I can actually hear you getting fatter. All right, it's sale time, so remember, we don't take
No for an answer.
No.
Okie dokie.
I'm gonna pass.
Gotcha, thanks.
Oh, son of a...
That's gonna leave a mark.
Okay, let's check you out. All right.
It's a clip, huh?
Hi, are you sure?
Can't breathe.
He's a big dumb animal, isn't he, folks?
No, son of a...
What'd you do?
I'm a maniac on the floor.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid?
Why?
But on Friday, he will be a major motion picture star when his brand new film, Tommy Boy, opens nationwide. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the human thunderball, Chris Farley. Buddy, that was something very, very impressive. That's quite an entrance.
Daniel, the friend that works here, that you have...
Well, he's more than a friend. He's on the payroll.
He said that you like physical stuff. So.
Well, that was a very impressive entrance. I think in the 10 years we've been doing this show, I've never seen anything quite like that.
Want to do what the king wants, so I like to do that. I'm on the literature. My golly.
Look at this now. Look, man,
that's a whole lot of... What an idiot.
You, sir, are a regular Nadia Comaneci. You are a Mary Lou Retton. How you doing, buddy? You all excited about your big movie?
Oh, man,
Things are getting better and better for you, aren't they?
Yeah. I love it.
What about do you get a sense now of how your life might change with the fame that is going to come with the release of this film? Not that you're not famous now, but you know it's going to be more and more.
Well, I don't know. sometimes people come up to me and, like, ask for an autograph. One time I was with my dad, and...
What's your dad's name?
My dad's name's Tom.
Tom?
Yeah. And then the chef at the restaurant came up and asked for an autograph.
That's nice.
And so I signed it, and then my dad goes, "What'd you put on there?" And I go, "Well, I just wanted an autograph, so I signed my name." And he goes, "Oh, for God's sakes, make it personal. These folks are coming up there, taking a risk and asking you, make it personal, for God's sakes. Just sign your name like a jackass." But I don't know, it's like, it happens. Sometimes people come up to an autograph, but it's not gonna change me. I'm gonna do the same old Chris.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna happen here. Oh! I've broken your equipment. I want to do that.
Are you all right?
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna be okay?
Yeah, I thought that.
Well, here, you know, there you go. You can have one of those.
It's local. I like chocolate.
Oh, man. Let's talk a little bit about the movie. Tommy Boy, it's about a kid that, like, inherits his dad's business, that kind of deal? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I go work for my dad,
Yeah.
played by Brian Dennehy, man. He is awesome.
See, that's excellent casting. The two of you, I could believe that, father and son. That's a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I keep screwing up for the company and stuff. I really love this movie.
Yeah.
I hope that everyone will like it, because we had fun making it, and I think it's really good.
I hope so, too. I hope it's a huge hit for you and for David Spade and everybody else as well.
Because if I don't, I'm going back to Wisconsin on the farm, so go to it. No, that was stupid, too. That shouldn't have gone to
Well, you're very entertaining and a very nice guy. I appreciate you coming over to say hello tonight.
Thanks, Dave.
All right?
Thanks.
All right. Good luck, Chris. Thank you very much.
Man.
Chris Farley. We'll be right back.
Have a seat, gentlemen. You guys,
Hello, Chris.
Oh, David.
So you have to pretend to be friends one more time?
some kind of. Hey, boys. I
That
tell
was
you.
her little bit, Jay. I think it went over great.
It did great!
And I'll tell you something. Nobody can wear a suit like Chris Farley.
I went over to the big and tall shop today, and they got things done over there.
The big and tall shop.
Yeah, it's not for the tall, Jay. Might as well know now. I have a slight weight problem.
Well, they never say big. They always say the portly man.
Yeah, that's right.
For the man of girth. They always have like a girth section.
Yeah.
That's good. And you got the tie, and I like the way the collar goes up.
Yeah. I always have collar problems.
Yeah, big problem for me.
You guys doing okay over there?
Yeah, great. And Dave, thanks for dressing too. Nice to have you. Yeah.
We want to tell all these young folks at home, you better go out there and see our movie Tommy Boy instead of going out back in the alleyway smoking doobies.
What an inspirational message that is. Yeah. Now you guys have been friends for a long time, correct? Yes.
We've been friends for a while, and now it's since the movie and the show, we're like an old married couple now. And,
Yeah.
except we sleep in the same bed.
Oh, really?
Kidding. Please, sir.
Come on,
Now, do you guys ever double date? Do you ever go out together? I mean, do you meet?
Well, no, I remember during the movie. You okay, Fidgy? He's a little fidgety. No, I remember that one time when me and you and Dan Aykroyd was there, and we were always trying to impress Dan Aykroyd because we were like huge fans of his, and he was in our movie. So, Chris, what did you tell him? What you always used to do?
I'd always just hang around Danny Aykroyd, and he was, probably bothered him way too much, saying stuff like, Dan, look, I can do a cartwheel. Look, Danny, look, I can ride bikey by myself. Dan. I'm gonna hold my breath now, Dan. Dan, you're not looking. Look. Okay, ready? Look.
I'm on the seesaw.
I'm on the seesaw.
No, he was
Oh,
great.
but Danny was awesome, man.
Now, is that the first time you worked? No, you worked with him once before. You did what? Coneheads? Was that the other movie you?
We were in Coneheads together, which...
Now, that was not #1, I don't think, like this one was.
Jay, that was huge overseas.
Oh, really?
It's very different. It was huge in Holland. We can't step foot in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
No, we're international stars. Now, what I remember on the movie, toward the end of it, we're supposed to give a crew present to the crew, and so we both chipped in money. And so what happened was we gave him like a book, and we were going to sign it. But the one day I don't come to work, you know, he works alone. He signs them all and gives them all out. So the next day I come to work, so everyone already has the present, all the fun's already over. And then I bust him. I come around the corner and he's talking to one of the grip guys, and the guy goes, "Hey, Chris, is that a nice present from you and David?" And he goes, "David? David Spade? Oh, I see, because you know what? Yeah. Consider it from both." I was like, "What are you talking about? I gave you $1,000. He's like, oh, and I said yeah. No, it's the way you said yes.
Now, I understand you two are prepared to do an acting scene from your film. Normally, we'd just have a clip, but... This is like an acting exercise? Right. As actors, this is something that...
Yeah.
You need any preparation from me? You just do
I don't think so. I think we can just set it up by saying this is a scene from our movie, and it's pretty much what the movie's kind of all about.
Okay, here's a scene from Tommy Boy.
Okay, let's meet at the Big Monkey in 10 minutes. Let's go.
10 minutes, guys.
Oh,
would you please?
Get that
I'm
way.
going that way.
Thank you. I hope that didn't give too much away.
You don't see writing like that anymore.
Jay, it's very visual, our movie.
Now we have a clip from the film. What does this clip need any explanation, guys?
I think this is the one where we're in a taxi cab trying to find a guy who we're going to sell a big account to. So we're very nervous, and we're trying to sell Dan Aykroyd this big account.
Joe!
Let's take a look.
Gilligan. Pretty good, Conan.
You're doing great.
Oh, I don't know. I do what I can.
For the kids, yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of good stuff. You got this movie out, Tommy Boy is doing great, and you feel good about yourself. You know, you got this movie out. You're out impressing people, and your life must be changing right now. You must be getting a lot of nice attention.
Chicks. Mostly from chicks.
I would think.
Hi, gals.
Well, there you go. There you go. You're doing well with the ladies right now. I would think you are.
Got a new suit from the Big and Tall shop. They seem to like that.
Yeah? Yeah, you're doing that. You seeing anyone in particular right now?
I'm no stranger to the gals, I'll tell you that. And no, I'm not seeing anyone per se. It gets kind of lonely on the road. But
Chris, we just said right now the audience went crazy. The girls in the audience went crazy when we announced that you do well with the ladies. Come on, you could really score. Well, you're see, listen to that.
Hi, girls. Papa's coming. That's right. How you doing? How you doing? You sure are pretty. My name's Chris Farley from movie Tommy Boy. Maybe you'd like to
Go on a date ski. It seems to be kind of a natural, you and I.
Oh, Chris.
Conan, I think it's working.
What's going on here? You said that we had something happening. I know you're Tommy Boy's #1, but to use someone, that's not right, Chris.
Adam, it's not what you think.
You and all these hot tamales, remember this, Chris? I saw the skid stains in your underwear.
Chris, you're a selfish lover. I'm sorry.
Chris, come on back. I feel bad.
Okay.
It's an awkward moment for us. I'll tell you what, Chris, we're just going to get over that nasty little incident. Okay. Folks, we'll have more with Chris Farley when we come back. We'll take a quick break.
That was number 17, Mary J. Blige. I'm going down.
We'll be back with a woman who recently taped an unplugged show with Bruce Springsteen.
That was funny.
You want me to do the butt play thing?
That's quite all right.
And welcome back to MTV's Top 20 Countdown. I'm Chris Farley, and my friend David Spade and I are in a movie called Tommy Boy.
Hello, I'm Chris Farley's mom, and this is David Spade's mother.
And you're watching MTV's Top 20 Countdown. The next video is from Madonna's Bedtime Stories album.
Yes, it's the title track, Bedtime Story.
Mom?
What is it, Chris?
David has something to ask you.
Can we watch a few seconds of the Madonna video?
No, you can't. We have to screen it first.
Can we listen to it?
Well, we'll decide that later. You just finish those dishes.
Well, at least talk about the movie.
Go see Tommy Boy, everyone.
Now get back to work.
Here's Madonna at number 13, and I hope it's the one with the matador in it.
Oh, he's cute.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
And you're watching MTV's Top 20 Countdown. Now tell me again about your new Tommy Boy system.
It's easy, Chris. If you go see Tommy Boy, then you're cool. If you don't, you're not cool. It's that simple.
I'm confused. I want to be cool.
It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's 2 simple steps. Go see Tommy Boy, come home cool.
Must cost thousands of dollars.
That's what I thought. But the movie is actually less than $10 to see.
Wow. Golly gee whiz, I'm all wet. What's the next video?
That's the best part. At number 6 is the debut video from a brother act called Soul for Real with Candy Rain. What are you waiting for?
I don't know what's worse, you changing into Casey Kasem or that wig.
That's not fair, Chris. I'm trying to make the kids laugh.
I know.
It's not working.
That was live at number 2. Stay tuned for the number 1 video!
It's our favorite.
It's a doozy.
Let's get up. Tommy Boy opens this weekend, so go see it. Let's do a little dance when we...
If I wanted to kiss, I would have called your mother.
I've worked with Chris Farley on an HBO special, and I wanted desperately to do a movie with him, and across the Paramount desks and Lorne Michaels' desk came this script.
When Lauren pitched it to Sherry Lansing, the idea for the story, he pitched the idea of Chris Farley and Rob Lowe being brothers.
Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers gotta hug.
And it was later then that it was changed, and David was brought in, and although they aren't literal brothers in the movie, it became these very much like they are brothers.
Shut up, David.
A lot of nothing.
Who's riding me? I thought it was a funny
A whole lot of nothing. I was on Saturday Night Live. I've been on there a few seasons. Not done as much as Chris, that's for sure. Chris came on and hit the ground running. I was kind of a brighter performer.
Would you be a lamb and not smoke?
But I'd done a few things, and we shared an office, Chris and I. So Lauren Michaels would watch us around the office, and we were like a little team.
How do you think the eggs spelled? Hey, let's find out. I'll be you, and you be the eggs. How about that? Hey, look at this! I'm gonna throw some eggs around! Look at me go here!
Particularly when you're writing a comedy, the more that you know the person you're doing it for, you know their moves, you know their strengths, and it's easier to write something that you can see them doing and being funny doing.
But I'm sitting around as soon as I find out he wants to buy something.
That's okay, you did great up till there.
Sorry.
That was good.
That was very good.
It was a really exciting picture to make because so many of the people were first-timers. It was my first picture to be an editor. It was Pete's second picture, but it was like Fred Wolf's first. And while Chris and David had been in smaller roles in pictures, this was really their first time to be starring roles.
Well, it hasn't changed me one iota. You know, a lot of times...
I think Lauren, as a producer, was great. He obviously gave us a huge chance, and initially is the whole reason it got made, by saying, these two are funny, you two write something for them, and kind of just steered the ball after that.
Before Tommy Boy, I had never worked with Lauren. I, of course, knew of him, had met him. I'd worked with Saturday Night Live cast members. I worked with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd when I produced The Blues Brothers, and had been around the show, but we had never done a film together. And when I asked, what do you have, he said, about 30 pages of script and a release date. So I knew from the get-go that this was not going to be a run-of-the-mill process in getting this film to the screen.
A/B comment, Mark.
And that's when the whores come in.
Okay, good. That was good speed. Let's keep it that speed. Do it one more time. Whores. Almost sounded like horse. Okay, ready? And that's when the whores come in.
They do it too.
Give it a good... Okay, okay, excellent. Bonnie and Terry Turner wrote the original draft called Billy the Third, a Midwestern, and I came on, and at the time that I came on, they were just starting up a television show. They had gone on to do Third Rock from the Sun and have a very successful television career, and they really couldn't afford the time to stay back and do the rewrites on the script because we had some pretty, extensive ideas. So Fred Wolf came in.
Okay, so they had a script, a basic idea that they wanted Farley and Spade to be in a movie, and there was a bunch of changes that needed to happen, and so Lauren said, oh, maybe you could go and sit with Pete and maybe throw a few jokes his way, because you know Farley and Spade's sense of humor and the way they talk and so forth.
And Lauren gave him to me for about a month and a half, 2 months before he had to go back to the SNL season, and I made sure I wrung out every ounce of energy that Fred had.
It looks real.
And then it became evident that we needed more and more stuff. And the two of us at his house, we started putting together cards for what an entire new second and third act would be, carting up like the set pieces and where we were headed, because the guys were just on the road selling brake pads. That's the basic premise of this movie. And as we kept carting it, it was never really stated officially what my involvement was going to be, actually, as the writer of the screenplay. And I had been hired to do, it's called punch-up. And so it's just an unofficial sort of, you sit there and throw jokes out and whatever.
Fred hung in there, and I remember calling it the Magic 66. He gave 66 pages of something wonderful, about 3 weeks before we started shooting, and then I knew we actually had a movie. Even though I didn't have a second half, I had no idea how the movie was going to end. I knew if we started with the 66 pages that we'd have something. This is the original script that I signed on to, which, as you can see, was called Billy the Third, a Midwestern. At the time, they were shooting Billy Madison, so we realized we can't have two Billys out in the world. So once you abandon one title and try to come up with a new title, all hell is broken loose. Eventually, Lauren came up with Tommy Boy, and at first everyone hated it, didn't understand, and then realized that's what it's going to be. Dave and Chris absolutely could have been the next Laurel and Hardy. I completely believed in Farley. And then I have this other piece of the engine, which was David Spade, who was the motor oil and the spark plugs to making Farley work.
See, Chris isn't funny, haha. He's funny. Oh, how sad. That boy needs help.
Well, I think the elements that you have there with the Spade-Farley pairing are, first of all, you know, the contrast in physical type, obviously. One big guy, one little guy. I think that kind of worked for me and John Belushi. That kind of worked for Abbott and Costello and Laurel and Hardy.
They said Farley's funny and you can ride his coattails, and believe me, there's room.
Fatty and skinny, the age-old secret.
Chris Farley comes out of Second City. That's more of a disciplined form of training where we're taught to serve the writer, we're taught to give and take with people on stage. There's an element of basically stressing the playing within scenes and playing in an ensemble. I think that David Spade has a more sort of a solo personality based on what we call the North American high school sense of humor. That is acerbic, caustic, sarcastic.
Everyone tells us, you know, Toronto's #3 in traffic. Who cares?
Look at Big Jim.
Welcome to #1, New York. Take care, I gotta make a call.
You know, it's that kind of thing that we all had in high school that David has sort of elevated to a high art form.
All right, listen, enough of you. We're running out of tape. Okay. Thing about me that's great. Do you have a minute?
Chris would instigate something. You know, he was good at instigating, whether it be trouble or any kind of thing. He was good at making things happen.
That's exactly the same problem I have.
I have another problem you have.
What?
No, I don't. I don't have hemorrhoids.
And Dave's good at commenting on the things around him, you know, and observing things around him and making funny comments about that. So it's a good combination.
Oh, Tommy. There's so many things to say about Tommy. Tommy's kind of a mess, kind of a slob, doesn't try hard. I don't like that. He had his...
You don't do it again. I'm sorry, David. Hi.
Anywho.
That was their real relationship. Spade was verbal, Farley was physical, and the two of them were like the perfect fit, and that made our job much easier.
Ugh, I can actually hear you getting fatter.
David's hilarious because he's so unbelievably smart. I mean, David never falls short of that. He's always can go on a run, and he'll go on for days without ever sputtering off, where I have like one sentence is doozy, and I got nothing, and I got a fallen table or something. But so I'm more physical, and he's cerebral.
But it's easier to be mean for me. You know what I mean? Like, some of my stuff is sarcastic and kind of cutting, so it's just like a defense mechanism from childhood that I still have. But he can riff with any joke, and he can do physical stuff, and there's like a million things he does that no one can. And, you know, get some kid from Saved by the Bell to say mean things, you got me. Anyway, give me scale +10, I'll go anywhere you want. I don't know what that means.
He just freeze-framed.
I just went, roll credits.
I'd say in the last 50 years, they were the closest we've gotten, I think, to the potential of a Laurel and Hardy or Abbott and Costello or, you know, those guys back then, because they were a great comedy team.
Oh, Richard, I'm so happy. Hold me.
Yikes.
We all felt left out when we saw those two together because you can't approach how funny they both were together. Nobody can come close.
I was telling people we had chemistry from day one. Finally, I worked it out on some charts and some graphs, and apparently we do. We started the first day, we walked over from the hotel together to Saturday Night Live. So we immediately kind of bonded. And he was a great person, so to be a good, sweet person is what I'm pulled into, and he's really funny, and so that's easy to be around. Hi. Look at me, not at him.
Dave and Chris had an unbelievable chemistry. What you saw on film was absolutely the way it was, and more, off screen.
I have a book I wrote called Acting
I'm an idiot. What's my book called?
It's called The Good, the Bad, and the Tubby.
Once I hung around those guys long enough to realize that I could draw from their relationship and their chemistry in real life, I knew even more so that we had to put that into the movie, and that's where the movie was going to go. It was going to be more of a story about those guys.
Did you hear I finally graduated?
Yeah, and just a shade under a decade, too. All right.
You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors. The first day, I knew we were in trouble because he was so amped up to do a good job. He had 27 cups of cappuccino, and his assistant's name was Yasser. He was like an intern, and he'd go, rolling, Yasser! Line him up!
And Chris would take, right before each scene, he would down 3 of these hot cappuccinos. You could just see his blood pressure and everything just start to go, and then he'd be ready and have all his energy for the scene.
This has gotta be the one!
No, it was always, the only problem was when he'd drink all that coffee, and then he'd call me and he'd go, I didn't sleep good last night. And I go, why not? Well, I had 40 cups of coffee. Now, what did I eat that's keeping me up? I'm like, let's get a chart and try to break down what could be keeping you up.
I pump coffee into him, I pump tuna into you.
Coffee and tuna. That's what it should have been called, coffee and tuna.
That was our working title. So then it was a matter of who's gonna wake him up after lunch, because he would black out from so much coffee and being tired. And then he would be cranky, and then that was that.
Housekeeping, you want men for pillow? Please go away, let me sleep for the love of God!
Do you ever watch the old movies, or are they too painful?
Yeah, I mean, they're on so much that you get caught up in them, and it's sort of sad and fun because you remember the whole day of the shoot. You remember one day going, let's bring a little clip-on tie and say it's a clip-on, and you go, oh, really? And then we go, let's just try to put that in somewhere in the scene, because you'd see the mini sides for the next day and go, this feels a little flat. Like housekeeping from Tommy Boy.
Housekeeping!
I would do every morning when I came to his room. I'd go, housekeeping? And he'd go, and I go, housekeeping? And he goes, the fuck out of here. Put that fucking thing on the door. And I go, housekeeping. He goes, God damn it. And then he'd open the door and he goes, oh, it's you.
When you do that stuff in real life and it's funny, and then you go to try it on film.
You don't know for sure. And stuff we do anyway, we go, if it's done right, I think people will think it's funny too. I think what works about us is that we're so different, but it also can get to be trouble.
Yeah.
But he's a great friend of mine.
Pretty funny.
You two are like a team, aren't you?
Chris and I are the fatty and skinny of the 90s.
Now, David, you appear to be sort of the guardian here. Nothing, Chris. I mean, but you seem Chris a little, perhaps.
I'm the brains, he's the laughs. That's no, it's well, he gets a little crazy. He'll tell you. He's a little bit of a coffee drinker, and one time on a flight, I'll tell him what happened.
Dave says I get a little cranky. And after a little bit of coffee, I drink about 15, 20 cups a day, Jay.
Really? 15 to 20?
Well, it gets me going a little bit. And then, so I was a little irritable, and I hadn't get any sleep, and so we were on the plane, passing the time playing checkers one time. And then David was, he was beating me, and I was getting a little cranky. And so I was saying stuff like, move your back row! You can't just keep them back there, that's easy. Playing defense, move them! And so he got so scared that he started moving his back row, and he wasn't concentrating on his moves. And I'd be like going, king me now! And then I'd be all happy when I started winning. I actually accidentally scared him into winning. I won, baby.
I know. And then he'd go, isn't this fun? And I'd be like,
You know, David and Chris had this really kind of Felix and Oscar relationship. I mean, they really did. They were that. They were the odd couple. And they would have these fights sometimes that were real. And David will kill me, but they would end up basically with Chris like sitting on him. And that would end the fight. That'd be it.
Me and the meanie. Holds me down in the trailer, puts his knees on my shoulder.
Pounds his face in.
They were like an old married couple. You know, they adored each other, they were best friends, and they'd fight.
I'm gonna really hurt you on this one. I'm gonna be like, haha.
Don't.
Oh, my C4 vertebrae.
They wouldn't talk to each other. They'd just ignore each other. They'd talk to each other through the director, through Pete. They were really funny.
Chris.
I'm sorry, I'm just kidding around.
Chris goes up to the extras and he whips out his $100 Canadian bills and he goes, "Is this a lot? I'm not from here."
Shut up.
Farley could be having like some giant fit over something or other, and Spade could say the one line that sounded like a total insult.
Look, we're friends on the movie and not off.
But Spade will give him that cutting insult, and Farley will just crack up at what Spade just said and be busted, and everything would go back to normal.
Yeah, here's a money shot. You. Did you ever see Son of Flubber? No reason. Bye.
But that's how they spoke to each other. And then Chris would just start howling because he didn't take it as an insult. He knew that there was this love and bonding and chemistry there.
Hey, does this suit make me look fat?
No, no, no. Your face does.
Okay.
Marker. Action. That's right. You're not your dad. He can sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves.
Ketchup popsicle?
Yeah. I learned everything I knew from him. Yeah, I learned everything I know from him. I didn't have a father and he looked out for me. But you, he was your real dad, and you just didn't care.
Filmmaking is an evolutionary process, even in the best of times. So when you don't start with a completed script and you have to start at a certain time and end at a certain time because of people's schedules, it forces you to work in a certain way. So the trick is to still get good work under those conditions.
We got it's been great. 15 seconds of the movie, right? Now we got another hour and a half to go.
I don't know how Pete Siegel did it because he had to be on the set at 6 a.m. or whatever, and then he'd work a full day, and then he and I'd be waiting for him back at his hotel room, and he'd work till 1 or 2 in the morning on what the next couple days worth of shooting was going to be. It was that catch as catch can, and I honestly have no idea how he did it, but we'd be sitting there just like completely wiped out, and Pete would say, I remember once I was at a gas station, and as I backed the car up, I hooked the car door on the pump. You think we could use that somewhere? And that's how we were throwing it out there.
So we started brainstorming. We put little index cards down on my floor. Funny things that happened to us, you know, and he told a story of one time he was driving in his car and he didn't latch the hood properly and it flew up in his face. Okay, good, there's an idea. Put that down.
And then on top of it, what was valuable to Pete Siegel at this time is that because I was around these guys all the time, Farley and Spade, it's true. As they talked with each other, you just write it down and put it straight into the script. I saw Farley do Fat Guy in a Little Coat, just for a goof on Spade. And so you go, oh, that's going in the movie.
Is this your coat?
Don't do it.
One of the great compliments I can give to Bill, especially on this movie, is he was responsible for, among other things, Fat Guy in a Little Coat being sung.
In the script, I think it says, Fat Guy in a Little Coat, Fat Guy in a Little Coat. Well, during David's close-ups, Chris was off camera.
Richard, is this your coat?
Don't.
Fat guy in little coat. Fat guy in little coat. Help! There's a fat guy in a little coat.
Take it off, Pinky Dick. I'm serious.
And by maybe take 5 or 6, he was kind of getting bored and changing it up. And I hear him off camera at dailies starting to sing.
Don't.
Fat guy in a little coat. Fat guy in a little coat.
I couldn't help but just continue to, howl at what was going on off camera.
Off me. He's a fat guy in a little coat.
Take it off, dickhead. I'm not kidding.
There's one day we got the dailies back, but we didn't like Chris's t-shirt. It was white and it just was too bright, and we knew we had to go back and reshoot it. He says, if you're gonna go back and reshoot it, have him sing it this time. I said, okay. And it was what made that scene magical and so memorable.
That guy in a little coat. That guy in a little coat.
Take it off, dickhead. I'm serious.
Richard, what's happening? Oh. What my associate is trying to say is,
Okay, one more time.
you looked at me like,
Okay, one more time, keep rolling. And action. I talked with him about, you know, what could we do to liven this scene up when Chris is trying to sell, you know, brake pads to this guy. And we'd come up with the idea of taking 2 model cars on his desk and going through this story. And that's about all I told Chris. I said, okay, you know, use these and except for lighting the car on fire, which our prop person had to know in advance, the rest was pure Chris.
do you remember when Jane Curtin said Belushi was like, I think that's funny.
Yeah, we're set.
And okay, I do. Give it a little bit.
Grab my arm a
See it in
second.
dailies. I did it.
Let me see you grab my arm. Watch this, Pete.
No, I just go like this.
Now let's see what happens when you're driving with the other guy's brake pads. You're driving along, and all of a sudden the kids are yelling from the back seat, "Hey, I can't stop! Oh, help! There's a cliff! Oh, and your family's screaming, oh my God, we're burning alive!
It was a very kind of troubled schedule because we were supposed to shoot in the summer before they started back on Saturday Night Live in the fall. Well, of course, as movies go, things didn't quite work out that way, and so we started shooting late in the summer.
We started in September, right when Saturday Night Live starts. Also, Toronto isn't 15 degrees yet, but it's heading there quickly. You know when you get so cold you can't enunciate, you start going, look, here you're in at. And then you start foaming. That's what's happening to me. And so we've got a timetable of, we're shooting in Toronto and we're shooting Saturday Night Live. And we had a little tiny plane. I just called it a private jet because it sounded cooler, but it was basically getting an MRI. You lay down, it's like this big. So we couldn't stand up in it, it's tiny, it's stuffed with candy and booze. And we would fly back and forth and do Saturday Night Live, Saturday obviously, Toronto, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Fly back Wednesday for read-through, fly back Wednesday night to Toronto, shoot Thursday, fly back Friday, Saturday, do the show. And fly back after the cast party in the middle of the night Saturday. That worked well for about a week.
But let's talk about the movie. You're very excited. It's called Tommy Boy. You and David Spade. David Spade, very funny man, very nice guy. And you guys are friends as well as working together on the show and now in this big movie.
Yeah, he's my buddy. We had a lot of fun. I love this
Shot
movie.
it in Toronto?
Yeah, shot it in Toronto. We had to go back and forth a lot from Toronto to New York because we were doing the show at the same time. So we'd like break up the monotony and stuff like that. And Spade said that he kept trying to bug me about my weight and said I kept eating when I got nervous. I have a little bit of a weight problem. I'm not sure if anyone... But then this jacket used to fit me during the shoot. But so he says he'd exaggerated to like, don't give me that excuse about nerves. He exaggerated to like, oh my God, there's a red stoplight. Not another blue car. One time on the plane, he'd always check the candy bar drawer and make sure that they were all full. But the second time he checked it, it was all wrappers. There was chocolate all around my mouth. I go, I don't know where they went. Then to break up the monotony, one time everyone was really tired and I couldn't sleep for some reason. So they all woke up and I was bare naked on the plane. The pilot said, get your clothes on, it reeks in here. No. Oh God, that was a bad one. I shouldn't have gone that area.
No, Chris, you're being too hard on yourself. That's a lovely story.
But there was one time I was doing the Pepper Boy with Adam Sandler. Pepper Boy. Yeah. You like the pepper you like? So we're going around. You like Sandler, what with a pepper? So we go to Chris Farley. Sandler's there, and Chris Farley does one of his Chris Farley moves, like makes just a out of nothing.
You,
Why, thank you, Pepper Boy. So Sandler starts to shake and go. He's starting to go, but if you listen to the tape, I'm old school and I'm thinking, this sketch is a classic. We can't have, we only break when it's gonna ruin it. So Sandler's right there, and again, during the sketch, he starts to go, and if you look back at it, I whisper to Adam, I go, don't break. Yeah, so we were taught that, and then later on they all started laughing.
The funny thing about that sketch is we were doing Tommy Boy, and Farley comes back and goes, I have one fucking line in fucking Pepper Boy. And I go, and he goes, it's not even a joke. He goes, oh, I'll get a laugh. And he puts on this frickin' bee beard. It's really long, remember? And he goes, he's supposed to say, why, thank you, Pepper Boy.
Line.
And he goes, why, thank you, Pepper Boy.
And he leaves it. He's got 7 chins. He leaves
That's the right amount of pepper.
Yeah.
And he was mad it wasn't like a hilarious line, so he had to stick it to him and make it funny, and then it caught them off guard. Because they don't know there's some chaos going on.
Freshy pepper.
Why, yes! Why, thank you, Pepper Boy! That's the perfect amount of pepper! Bravo!
Because of the work that needed to happen, anyway, it was kind of a saving grace. We needed time, and because they had to go and do Saturday Night Live, it actually gave us time to think of new scenes and new ideas and actually put them into production.
That's it! You are gonna die! I am gonna get you! Oh!
And action.
No!
And action.
No!
That was good. One more like that. And action. Cut.
It's interesting. A lot of people think, you know, making a comedy, it's the life of the party and you're going to have the best time. And sometimes it actually is a lot harder than making a drama because you know if it's not working, you can't leave until something happens right.
Well, actually, it echoed the show. The way Saturday Night Live was put together is we have to do a live show Saturday night at 11:30. Come hell or high water, it's got to be ready to go. And so you've got to put it out there on its feet.
I wish this card I could play around with.
Yeah, you can.
Or,
I cut myself. I'm getting a zit.
Plus, we were left to our own devices up there because it was so, we were so under the gun, so you didn't have time to have your second thoughts and third thoughts. It was pretty much like, I think it's going to work. Let's put it on its feet and see if it'll work.
I have questions for my director. I like to get in tune with him and sync. It's like a train or runaway locomotive. If I just say, check the elevators, I'll check the bank. No, you. That's a stupid question. All right, all right, I like to just check in.
It was great to have Pete Siegel directing Tommy Boy. We had done The Third Naked Gun together. It was Pete's first feature, and for me was a great experience. We had developed a shorthand in terms of working with each other and a trust. And given the working conditions that we had, it was essential that we be able to trust each other to get the picture done.
One guy came out from behind there. Now someone crossed in it deep.
Pete is a comedy mathematician. That's the way I look at it. He would stage all of the jokes, all of the gags in Tommy Boy with a mathematic sort of chemist's construction.
We've got kind of an empty foreground area that in the beginning of the shot might be nice to have some crosses.
Yeah, just let it roll.
They were literally like puzzles that he would place. Everything was very precise, everything was very thought out, very little was left to chance. It was always about where the camera was and where you looked. He was very, very precise. And, you know, he knows how to deliver that joke.
So once you take the toad, right? Mm-hmm. Then wait till I say action and go, wombat! So like you're holding your breath with it. Because then when I cut to this shot and you're going, you know, that'll show that what you've been doing.
I think he brings a class to a genre that has been disrespected in the past.
Steady yourself, steady, and shh, and action.
And it, to use a Farley phrase, it churches up what could be seen as sort of just a genre picture. I think he makes them bigger than they can be. And but the most important thing is he's a huge comedy fan, and he's a huge fan of the guys who are funny, and that's really important. That's great.
And go. Okay, Walkman and action.
Wombat! Woo! Hey guys, do I look different now that I'm a college grad?
Not really.
Well, apparently.
First of all, Chris was one of the funniest people I'd ever met.
No! I got that deer!
And so I knew if I could at least harness some of that energy that he had, we'd really have something.
Oh, my fanny! My fanny made a mess!
He inhabited that part. It wasn't like there was the part of Tommy Callahan existed before Chris Farley. It was molded and shaped and written to what Chris could do.
Mark it, David. Gotcha. 525, that's it! That's it! Oh! We have speed. Hey!
Mark it, David. Here we go.
What are you doing?
It's 9:25. Sorry.
Here we go. And
That's it! Oh!
and cut.
That's it! Oh!
Jeez.
Check out what happened when E.T. crashed the set in 1995.
We've been friends like 5 years. He's been friends with me 5 years. I've liked him for about 6 months. And the thing is that I know what he does better, and he knows what I do, so if it's not funny, I do it. If it's really funny, he does it.
This isn't a Saturday Night Live movie. Other than Dave and myself, it doesn't have anything to do with any characters or anything like that. This is kind of a new and fresh challenge that we took on. And
we're just screwing around. It's just two people we think, or they think, are funny together, and if it works, it works. But it's so hard to get a movie that's any good anyway, that if I can ride his coattails, I'll do it. Believe me, there's room. Later, Entertainment Tonight goes in Chris Farley's stomach to see what's cooking. Box of donuts in there. Help us! Drinkers, don't leave! He usually bangs his head and falls down in the movie, and I just sit there and go, what are you doing?
I did a lot of falling in the movie too. I do a lot of falls all the time. That's what I like to do. I don't have much of the brain department, but when Fatty falls down, everyone goes home happy.
Thanks for coming, and hope you got the groove.
Because we're rocking out.
He was a surprisingly good athlete. He was flexible and powerful, and he had, like Belushi, he had a great sense of balance, and you know, he could move.
Hey, mama, don't you treat me wrong. Love me, girl.
You could do things physically that people would say, oh my God, somebody that heavy would not be able to do.
Take 3 marker.
Mark it. Your firearms are useless against them. Don't be a hero. Oh, God.
There's a scene that I forgot about in the deleted scenes on this DVD where he was running to campus late for class, and he flipped over some cars and ran across the hoods and somersaulted and everything, and dented the crap out of these cars, by the way. You know, unfortunately, it didn't wind up in the movie, but that just was a testament, you know, to how fearless he was. Falling through tables? No, there was nobody I could get to do it.
And you can go back and see things on Saturday Night Live, from his ice skating to do other things, where you really get the command that he has of his body and how skilled he is at physical comedy. It's not just a question of letting yourself fall and letting gravity do the work.
He said, Chris, we'll get some other stunt guy to come in and do this. Absolutely, he wouldn't hear of it. He was completely dedicated to doing all his own comedic stunts.
See, I'm kind of looking up for that, for all. You know what I mean? So what's the best way that I can get the shot right before I hit the table in the camera? Marker.
It's scary for producers, but pretty amazing for the audience when they can see, when you don't cut away from the face and you actually see him fall like a big oak tree.
Sad. We're going to show...
And cut.
Cut it.
Good. You okay?
Yep.
Wow. All right.
Chris and I recognized each other. There's no question about that. We had a definite recognition of each other as being a certain type.
Damn, I'm proud of you. Mr. Big Time College graduate, huh? Say thanks, Dad. Thank you, Jesus.
I'm sorry.
You look at that movie now and you think, my God, they are related. They have to be related. They are exactly alike. And that is a testament to Mr. Denny.
There's, as I said, there are times when you just feel luck is going your way, and I think we couldn't imagine anyone but Brian Dennehy playing that part. We'd written it that way.
There's a moment, just before the wedding, which was just about this much in the script, and Brian said, "Can I try something? Is it okay if I don't say these lines?"
Look, Tony, something about getting old and being alone. There's something. Dad. It's cool.
And it was an ad-lib moment, and it said what, 1,000 words couldn't say.
So when you're doing this kind of insane comedy, and especially with younger actors, you want to populate the film with other characters played by actors who really give viability and earnestness and a reality to the movie.
Denver, take 5, Mark.
Tom, I want to make a little announcement. There's an airplane flying overhead.
I want to print that, though.
It was a hard part to cast, the mom part, because it had to be somebody that wasn't immediately apparent that they were going to be the bad character. And she's so sweet and she's so lovable that in life, besides being drop-dead gorgeous, that you never suspect Beverly.
I was in Hong Kong. Actually, I was in China when I got the call. And they asked me if I wanted to do it. I knew about Chris, of course, about Chris Farley. I got very excited and I got on a plane, and I think it was definitely within 48 hours I was coming out of that swimming pool in Toronto. I had to get from Hong Kong to Toronto and literally jump in the pool.
The first day I met Bo Derek was the day she came out of the pool. And the first moment I met her, she was showing me her bikini. Is this okay? And then I'm doing that guy thing where I'm just staring right at her eyes. Fine, it's perfect. You can't look. Even if they're giving you license to look at my body in this bathing suit, it's for art, it's a movie, I couldn't do it. And so literally on film was for the first time that I actually saw what she was, oh, it's blue.
Oh, Tommy Boy Story of Room Tone? We were trying to get room tone. Everybody was in there. Everybody was up in Toronto. Trying to get room tone. Everyone has to be quiet for, 60 seconds or whatever. And towards 55 seconds or so, Farley cuts a fart and goes, "Bo!" And there was like about 100 people in the room, and everyone just burst out laughing. Tried to blame it on Bo Derek. Poor Bo Derek.
Hey, what is this thing? Hey, Lewis, lay off the linguine.
53 Bravo, take 2, Mark.
Hello, Paul.
Mom, you're looking good.
You have a nice trip.
Yeah. You got a problem?
No, not really. Except for 2-point takedown. Oh, that's gonna leave a mark.
Well, Rob is, to me, one of the comic gems of that movie. I mean, people don't necessarily expect him to do what he did in that picture. He was very funny.
Big corner marker.
Not good.
Kelly, come, Kel. Come here, Kel. Come here, Kel. Kelly, come. Here, Kel. Come here, Kel. Come here, Kel. Kelly, come. Come here, Kel. Come here, Kel. Up. Come here, Kel. Up, Kel. Good girl. And a girl, Kel. Good girl, Kel.
You know, he was such a, not only a pro, but a good sport, because we really beat the crap out of him.
It's such a glamorous life, isn't it?
He did all his own stunts, except for one, which didn't make it into the movie, but you can see it in the deleted scenes when he falls off a water tower. But anyway, Rob was fantastic.
We wouldn't want to hurt that jacket. No.
Do you want to back that for this? Ready? And action. And go.
Hurt myself. I think one of the things that makes comedy work is you can't be afraid. You got to look like a fool. And nobody looks like a bigger fool than I do in Tommy Boy.
Take 3.
God, he's so sweet. You have no idea how much having you and your mama's family means to him. He says the sweetest things about her.
Yeah, well, everything he does is sweet. So when does Sweetie get back?
This Friday, which is good because we're backed up on shipping orders as it is.
I'm sorry, I had to. That's great. It's so great.
One time, Farley said to me, he goes, it's almost like he's my girlfriend. I'm like jealous. He's hanging out with Rob Lowe. And then I said, well, you know, Rob is pretty, you know.
And it became like this kind of weird, they fought over me. Those two guys fought over me in the movie. It was insane.
Rob Lowe just has a charm about him. No, I remember that night. It was actually a real fight. It was so crazy that we flew back and I called Chris. I said I just landed and he's like, well, I think I'm getting the flu. I'll probably stay in. I said, all right, we got a big day tomorrow. Rob called, what's up? Let's go have a drink. We didn't call Chris. He was so mad the next day. He's like, how's Rob Lowe? Okay. Yeah. Heard you went out with him last night. Had a drink. How was that? Where was I? I don't know, honey. Oh, I don't like Rob Lowe. We're friends. Literally exactly that conversation.
They had this volatile, fun, funny relationship, and I think that's at the heart of the movie.
It's a Tommy Boy reunion.
Yeah, because you two go way back.
Yeah.
What do you remember? What do you remember about when you first
I remember
met them?
I was single, and when I was single, I had a penchant for tiny, cute blondes, and I met Spade, and it was
I have longer hair, yeah.
Yeah.
I met...
So I'm from behind, it was like, Spinner.
Oh, dear.
I have always had a thing for Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Rob's one of these guys that's cursed with being good looking. It's a real curse. I have not had that curse.
But this is a genuine man crush, right? David, this goes
This way
back.
is,
yeah,
yeah.
because when
And this way.
Because is this true that you and Chris Farley, when you used to have fights about
Fight over Rob.
and
They
friendship of
fought
Rob
over
Lowe,
me
right?
like I was a chick. They'd be like, they really did. They'd be like, I was in the jacuzzi with him last night.
Yeah.
Hang on. When were you in a jacuzzi?
Well, I think, was that during Tommy Boy?
During Tommy Boy, yeah.
For those of you who don't know, we did a movie, Tommy Boy, years ago.
Which is an incredible film. If you haven't seen it, you must. It's utterly brilliant.
Well, some people don't know, but it was Chris and I, and Rob was sort of the bad guy, and we were all up in Toronto, and I remember one instance for sure, we flew up and Chris was sick. He was eating on the plane. He goes, I'm so nervous when I fly. And then we got in the car, he started eating candy bars again. I go, you nervous when you drive too? He goes, no. You just eat a lot?
Yeah.
So we got there, and then he goes, I'm getting the flu. So he goes, I'm going to bed. I go, all right. So I call Rob. I go, you want to have a drink before? I don't even know if you remember this stupid story, but
I do.
I go, let's go have a drink before, just for no reason. It's like a Sunday night. One drink, fine, we go to bed. Next day, he's in makeup, staring at me in the mirror like a bank shot, and he's like this. I know this look, and it makes me nervous. And he goes, how's Rob Lowe? I go, I don't know. Is he here yet? And he goes, yeah. How's Rob Lowe? I go, I don't know what's going on. Everyone's all weird doing my makeup, like, because they know trouble's brewing.
Yeah.
So then we go to do a scene, and he's inside with Bo Derek, and I'm outside with Farley, and it's freezing. So I'm on the ground eating a tuna fish sandwich, and it's like 30 degrees. I'm like, ah, and he's still being a weirdo, but I just don't notice it anymore. And so then he's just staring at me, I guess, biting his lip, and then he comes over and crunches my hand and the tuna sandwich with his food. Crunch with his big fat boots, and then I got up and threw my Diet Coke on him.
It was straight out of, like, Atlanta Housewives or something.
They fought.
Yeah.
What do you
remember? And then he threw me down the
this?
stairs, and then they
It was
said,
like a proper fight.
Yeah.
You had a proper fight about Rob Lowe.
Not hard to throw Spade anywhere.
Oh, yeah, I fought.
No, Tommy Boy, I'm a huge Chris Farley fan. I really, really am. He was a huge inspiration to me and any other larger fellow who wanted to be funny ever. But now, you weren't credited at all in Tommy Boy,
That's right. The original concept...
How did that happen?
Well, the original concept that Lorne Michaels had was it was going to be Farley and I as brothers. No David Spade involved.
Thank God this thing didn't happen.
And then, yeah, no. And then, so one thing led to another, and that shifted focus to these two guys. And I was like, well, let me just be a happy surprise. So it's a little-known fact that my name appears nowhere.
It's nowhere. It's not in the credits. It wasn't on a poster.
Yeah,
nothing.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
No, it's incredible. It took years.
I wonder how
for
that
us to
happened.
notice, right?
Yeah.
One of the best memories I have of just fixing something on the day, thanks again to working with Fred Wolf, is when we were at the gas station.
Pete called me in the hotel room once. He said, I need a scene at this gas station with Rob Lowe. Can you think of anything funny? And I had seen Farley do crazy dances. So I said, what about Maniac? Doing Maniac and squirt him with water and have him do some crazy dance. Now, that's not funny on its own, but then Farley makes it hilarious.
I'm a maniac on the floor, and I'm dancing like I never danced before. Do 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 do.
It was brilliant. The whole idea of hosing him off and that just became, one of my favorite moments. And again, it was one of those things where I would get a call from Bill Kerr from the edit suite the next day, and he was howling, saying that wasn't in the script. And we started to hear that a lot, that wasn't in the script, and we'd make it up on the day, and that was one of my favorite Hail Marys.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid?
Why?
The deer hit, which is one of the the most memorable scenes in the movie, was an idea that Fred pitched to me at dinner. I remember at the Ivy on Robertson, and Lorne was there, and he said, Pete, Fred has an idea. Fred, tell it. It's quite good. But he told me the story, and it's based on an actual 911 phone call. And so he said, okay, well, we'll make it the PG-13 version, and the rest is history.
Unfortunately, because our schedule shifted, we were now trying to shoot with the deer during its mating season. And no matter what we did to try and cajole the deer to do this or that, it pretty much had only one thing on its mind. So, for example, when we had to shoot the scene of the deer crossing the road and we were shooting between its legs at the oncoming car that had Farley and Spade in it, that actually wasn't a deer. We couldn't get a deer to cooperate. So I had found I found a goat that was interested in show business, and we wound up sort of taping up its stomach and spray painting its legs and the bottom of the stomach so it would look deer-like, and we were able to get the goat to walk back and forth through the frame.
Apparently, as I found out, you can't train a deer. So, I had drawn these elaborate storyboards, the deer waking up and goring, the seat with its horns and coming up out of the roof and standing on the car and running away. And our first animal trainer just looked at me, maybe we'll get you the last shot, just standing on and running away. I said, okay, let's try it then. All right, here's what we're gonna need. You're gonna need to give us a car. We're gonna need to put her in a field and let the deer have her for a month, and put food on the car so the deer can eat and poop on the car and smell itself and be comfortable enough to go. Now, you hide your cameras in the bushes. Now, at the right time, maybe 4 or 5 weeks into it, we'll capture the little critter pooping, lights will come on, and you'll get your shot of it being startled and running away. I thought, are you crazy? This is what we have to do for one shot? And that's what we had to do. We had, this animatronic deer that we had spent for our movie a lot of money. Here's what we got. I thought, this is horrible. This can't work. And so we started playing around with that and reshooting and reshooting and reshooting. Finally, we took the deer skin off of the armature, and one of the guys on the crew just got underneath it and just started doing this, you know, literally under the deer skin. And that's how we got it. So for every moment of that sequence was fraught with difficulty, but no animals were injured. The changing the clothes in the bathroom on the airplane was one of the few scenes from the original script which went completely untouched. When I read the original story, I knew that scene alone was worth making the movie.
Pete said to me at one point, he said, you know, tomorrow we're going to do the scene in the aircraft. He says, the production designer says, you're not going to be able to shoot that. It seems that the producer, or maybe Pete, had him design the bathroom too small, they thought. And they never thought we could pull it off. But we did, it was funny.
I that up.
Well, the cow tipping thing came up. I was sitting in the first meeting with Lorne and the writers, and I said, we should have a scene where we go cow tipping.
What you do is you put your shoulder into her and you push.
And
they fall over.
They thought that was hilarious. I don't think they thought I was serious. They researched it, found out that's what people do, and so the cow tipping scene went in the movie. So that's my contribution to the script of Tommy Boy.
Stay between the udder and the hock. It's a 32 belly option on 2-on-2.
We shot the cow tipping scene out in this very remote part of Canada. It was about 10 degrees below zero. There was snow on the ground you couldn't quite see. And we'd shot Chris and Rob Lowe, you know, running with the cattle, the stampede, and the last thing we had of the night, or quickly becoming morning, was Chris getting his head stepped on by the fake cow leg.
And action.
We ended up doing about, I don't know, 400,000 takes, and poor Chris is sticking his face into the freezing cold, coagulating mud as the sun is coming up and the roosters are crowing, and, you know, I just kept saying, again, 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 and I think we had it on take 3.
Son of a... Holy shnikes!
When you're doing a comedy like this where there's a lot of big jokes and set pieces, we wanted to anchor the romance of it with an actress that could portray this character in a very real but sweet way. And Julie does just a great job.
Watch your language in front of the lady, punk.
Ah, dang. So you're saying about...
I'm sure. You better watch your mouth, punk, because I'll come like wind and rain all over ya. Horses patoot, jeepers creepers.
I had known David Spade. We were in acting class together, actually. I was in class with him and Rob Schneider, and they used to get kicked out a lot for making fun of people, like they were in high school, but they were the most interesting part of that particular class, so I hung out with them a lot, and I became friends with David. So I got the script, and I was a big SNL fan always, and I loved Chris and David, and so I auditioned and read for it, and they liked me, and they cast me. It wasn't more complicated than that, really.
Sir, it's pathetic.
It was partially the way the character I played was written, but it was also the relationship that Chris and I had. And that was really the most special part of the whole experience of working on the movie.
That was awesome.
I love you.
When we started surrounding ourselves with Brian Dennehy and Rob Lowe and Julie Warner and Bo Derek, suddenly we knew we were onto something. And, you know, we were the little engine that could, you know, because we knew nobody really knew Dave and Chris from outside SNL. And so to surround those guys, especially then with the addition of Dan Aykroyd, we knew we were onto something.
Mr. Zielinski, I'm Tommy Callahan, Big Tom Callahan's son.
One more time from the top. Here we go.
I like that you stutter, man.
I went a little heavy with the pine tree air.
Six marker.
He came in to meet with Pete, and he had this character down. And he had already come up with a voice, and he said, oh, and the haircut should be a straight-up buzz. And he had this wonderful Zielinski character already working on it when he first came in to talk to Pete.
Hey, the guys look sharp, really sharp.
We shot everything with Dan in, I think, about 2 or 3 days. And since then, I remember he signed my poster. He said, thanks for introducing me to a whole new generation that knows me as Zielinski.
Take 11. Marker.
That does it. I'm not gonna stand here and take this.
No.
Huh? Here we go.
He's got nothing.
Take 12. Okay.
That does it. I'm not gonna stand here and take that.
Not over yet, creep.
David, I've known for a long time, and he's got that little style of his down perfectly.
So I'm going to cut after other guys break cuts.
Sorry.
Then I'll stop.
I would cut before the movie starts and we hire someone else.
David has a moment in the movie I really like where it's out on the street.
Hey, you tried as hard as you could. When we first started out, I thought you just walked through this like you walked through everything else, but you didn't. Your dad would have been proud of you.
And he's really great. David's an actor that has, everybody knows he's funny, but he also has, you know, an ability to do drama. And just that one little moment is a really great moment.
Somebody's got a little case of forget line-itis. It's had it for about 12 weeks.
All set here.
Did I know it was good when we do it? I think that I knew after when things weren't good, because I knew what was good. I knew that no matter how tired we were and how crazy, it's still funny. So it's like surgery. Well, no matter what happened during, afterwards, you're glad it's done and you're happy. You check the elevators, I'll check my mark. I've been looking for it this whole time.
You son of a...
Despite how tough it was to make the movie, the fact that we were really enjoying ourselves during the making of the movie was a good sign.
Marker.
Feels good up my ass. Rolling.
I haven't seen everybody in a long time, but I can account that they had a good time making the film. We all did.
Sometimes when you make a comedy, 3 or 4 people are in one movie and 1 or 2 people are not in that same movie. And I think everyone in this picture is in the same movie.
You better run!
You know, it's kismet. You know, sometimes it's just right place, right time, right people in the right time of their lives. And that's what this was.
Oh, that's it! Keep it coming! All over! I'm not queen yet. You'll come back Tuesday.
I remember the first time that Sherry actually saw the movie, the lights came up and she was crying.
And she said, that's not the movie that I bought. But it was a compliment. She loved it, but it was not the original movie that they bought. It sort of found itself, and, you know, there's a lot of our flesh and blood in there along the way.
525, that's it! Oh!
Head cut.
Boy, I hit it.
And it was no blockbuster. That's the other funny thing. People think it made hundreds of millions of dollars. It didn't. It probably made 35 million. But you know what I mean? There's some that just make $300, $400 million. Nobody really cares. So it's more important for me to have something that sticks around.
To this day, you know, having done several movies that have grossed you know, 5 times what that movie has done, still the movie that people react to the most is Tommy Boy. There's at least 3 good reviews of Tommy Boy. Thank God it was before the era of Rotten Tomatoes. I don't really know what it is about a certain movie that sticks. I think there are other movies that I've made are maybe technically better, but there's something about the spirit of that movie, and you just never know. For the 10th anniversary, I said, why are you doing all this, you know, with a bobblehead doll? And I said, well, because Tommy Boy's a top 10 hit. And I said, I don't know what that means. Top 10 this year? And they said, no, for home video, top 10 all time, Paramount. I said, with like Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Godfather top 10? Yeah. That's when you can really feel good, you know, about a movie, when you know that it's transcended and become part of the culture.
That guy in a little coat.
Maybe it isn't, you know, The Godfather, but it has brought so much joy to so many people, and to be part of that is, you know, it's a cool thing.
Luke, I am your father.
I've interrupted happy time.
I think what made this film resonate with people was its heart. It had a lot of jokes, had a lot of laughs, but it also really had a story that they got invested in. And I'm so glad that we got that, even down to just that one little fish that jumps when he's waiting for a response from his father. And that's the, you know, the final cherry on top to Tommy Boy.
Hey! Thanks, Dad! Oh, son of a... That's gonna leave a mark.
He was good enough to where, like, I would call and say, hey, what if we turn on Carpenter's song? Because I have a Carpenter CD in my house. And when I would play it and people would come over, or if it was on in the car, I'd go, what's this stupid station on? Whose stupid CD is this? I want some rock and roll in here right now. And even though it was mine. And Fred, like, throws that in verbatim.
Talk about lame.
Totally. You can change it if you want.
I don't care, it's up to you.
I can live with it if you can.
Suit yourself.
He's like, perfect, let's do it. And I've rarely been in a situation where it's that loose.
Don't you remember you told me you love me, baby?
As long as it didn't mess with the scene and the set and where you had to move the cameras too much, we could try to get away with just internally within what we were doing, move the scene along but add jokes.
It's a clip, huh?
Are you sure?
Even little things like that aren't really jokes were woven throughout, and I think that's what people appreciate about it, that it's not the typical stupid jokes. It was a different version of new stupid jokes.
We just killed Bambi. I'm out here getting my ass kicked, and every time I drive down the road, I want to jerk the wheel into a goddamn bridge abutment.
We'll be in touch.
We did it?
We did it!
Yes! Richard, I'm so happy. Hold me.
Ugh.
Don't run away from your feelings!
I was just having fun. Didn't get the sale. We still got the seal. Hey! Pinch my toe. Pinch my toe, Mimi. Yeah, where are we gonna take the deer?
I don't know. The vet?
You take Dad.
Okay, let's do one more time.
That's my third chin.
Second sticks.
Ma'am, I'm thinking about blowing up the bomb building. Shut up!
But why do they put a guarantee in the box then?
Because they want you to think that they gave you a filled sandwich. You're taking a bite out of it and...
What are you saying? This is the guy trying to buy the company, not to mention put you out in the street, and all you can say is, he seemed like a nice guy.
What a dick.
I don't think we can leave it on.
Richard, what's happening to us? Kim, that's way too f***ing tight. Kim, I'm bleeding.
Marker.
Oh!
You and I would be in like 10 years.
And action. Sorry, the door's ajar, please. Close the door.
How could a door be ajar? Whack!
Quickly, please. Here we go.
Hey, you want a guarantee? Here's your f***ing guarantee. A wrapping your with a rubber hose, you mother. It's just that this was so big. I'm sorry. Oh!
Okay, here we go.
Hey, what is this thing? Ooh, Lewis. Hey, Lewis, lay off the linguine.
Your dad was the best at telling people what they wanted to hear, telling people what they needed to hear. He was good at a lot of things.
I can't breathe. God. This f***ing pen doesn't work, man. This isn't the right pen. Oh! Okie dokie. Birds. There's birds. We could drive around in Boog's front end loader. We could go to the late night out. God damn it! Okay. Gotcha, thanks. Oh my God.
Let's
We don't take no for an answer. We don't take no for an answer.
I didn't like that one.
Still rolling.
Thank you.
Okay, say the line one more time. Big smile on this one, Dan. Politician. And action.
So, did you hear I graduated early?
Did you hear I finally graduated?
So, did you hear I finally graduated? Yeah. The only thing I can figure out is whether to get Chicago style or thin crust. The salesman has left the building. See you in about. Oh!